Eamon Gilmore recently said that this new cut for the under 25s to €100 might be to incentivise young people to get off their backsides from sitting in front of flat screen TVs all day. Is that something that you would take issue with? Or?
There is absolutely no evidence that that's what young people are doing. We know, for example, that 85% of young people who are on a social welfare payment were previously in work. We know that we don't have enough labour market and education places for young people to fill. And we know that they are looking for jobs and they're taking jobs. And we know that they're willing to go abroad and they're all working abroad. Young people are not addicted to a lifestyle choice of flat screen TV watching. The evidence is plain as a day that they're not. They're leaving this country in droves to work.
Shay, tell us, why did you get involved with the We're Not Leaving campaign?
Very simply because the topics that were being kind of addressed by the group are stuff that I think are kind of lacking in political discourse at the minute, like things like youth unemployment, the levels of immigration, schemes like Job Bridge and these other internship kind of projects that are being kind of thrust upon young people.
Do any of you guys know anybody who's emigrated?
My father. He emigrated to Dubai for 3 years.
Yeah.
Lots of friends.
Lots of friends.
Yeah, I know lots of people. A couple of my friends in Australia, a couple in Canada. My girlfriend, for the last 3 years, she's actually emigrated to London to study there in September. She doesn't reckon she'll get a job back here maybe until another 5-6 years.
Older people in my community, a lot of the lads have emigrated and they're in Australia and Canada.
A year ago, year and a half.
Yeah.
Family, father's new job, usual crack. So there was nothing going on here for Ireland, job-wise for them. So just had to move on.
They're not coming back anyway. They're living out there for good now.
2 lads from my year, their families had to move out because there was no jobs here. So one's in Canada and the other's in Australia.
My friend emigrated to Scotland because she wanted to be a nurse and there's no nursing jobs over here at all. So.
Well, good for people who've gone to Australia. I know a lot of Irish people have throughout the years, but even again it seems to be picking up. People just, nothing going here, so they head over there. And
I done carpentry when I left school and decided to come back to college, and the lads that I lived with in the first year, I'm the only one that hasn't emigrated, so the levels of emigration from my peer group within the college is massive. I mean, Australia, New Zealand, Canada.
One of my best friends, she emigrated about 6-7 weeks ago.
Yeah, one left and came back. Another 3 left a good few years ago and have been over in Australia since.
It's not for, a holiday or an extended day, right?
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? That would be nice.
Well, my auntie and uncle have moved to America for work, and my 2 very close friends have moved since they've left college. They've moved away. A lot of people say to me, family, what are you going to do after your course? So, a lot of them will say, oh, you're sure you'll leave the country, won't you? And that's pretty much it. So.
That's kind of what's being expected.
Yeah.
Is emigration an option, do you think?
It's an option. It's not one that I would really want to go for. I think I want to try and stay around if I could.
I would prefer to stay, if there are jobs over here. So
yeah.
I don't know. I think there's a lot more opportunities abroad than there would be here.
It's a tough market and stuff. I'd say coming out of college, it'd be hard to obviously walk into a job.
Would you rather not have to emigrate long term?
I'd want to stay here after college.
Yeah. I'm gonna miss them, but it's not gonna be easy starting off as well. But at least you have the assurance that you're getting a good job and you're getting good money, which you can even use to support them.
When you finish up, what do you think the job prospects are out there for you at the minute in Ireland?
Well, kind of winging it at the moment.
I don't think I'd stay in Ireland. Definitely not. I'd probably emigrate, probably Australia or America. Yeah, that's kind of pretty much the consensus, though. Most people I know. So.
And Ireland is it's gone a bit crap, to be honest. I mean, there is a lot of benefits to living in other countries.
It's a consideration since a lot of people I know have as well. If I were to do it, it would be for reasons of study, as well as the difficult job market situation here in Ireland. It's also one of the most expensive places to study and do postgraduate education. Maintenance grants have been completely scrapped.
It's supposed to be free education, basically, and some people are finding it hard to get grants, and it's not really fair. Some people can't go to college and they want to, so it's really unfair.
That was me last year. I couldn't go. I just didn't have the money, so I took the year out, and I had to work full time for the whole year to get money to come.
To a friend back home, she was meant to be starting with me this year, but she couldn't get a grant, and there was no way in hell she'd get $2.5 grand.
So what's she doing now?
She's deferred at the moment, and she's just sitting at home doing nothing. She can't get a job. She can't. Too young to emigrate. Can't make up the fees. It's ridiculous.
it's fairly expensive in general. Like, I mean, the fees are pretty hard to get together. You really have to save up for a while. I mean, I'm very lucky, very fortunate the position I'm in. I mean, I'd hate to have to get it all together, but
survey research suggests that young people assume older people and pensioners are doing worse than they are, for example, out of things like the welfare system and welfare cuts. So one of the big issues and needs is to raise awareness in young people of just how badly the crisis is affecting them and what a rough deal they're getting from the crisis as well, relative to other parts of the Irish population. If you look at some of the housing issues, for example, we can see that a lot of young people are simply not getting any kind of foothold into the housing market at all. Only 1% of people under 25 actually have a mortgage at all to begin with. We can see that of the people who are in negative equity, quite a number of the ones who are in mortgage arrears or negative equity are going to be under 35. About 29% of mortgage holders are under 35. We can assume that they bought late into the housing boom and they're much more likely to be affected by it. They're more likely to be the house owners who are affected by it rather than the buy-to-let people affected by it as well. If we look at unemployment and what's happening there at the moment, we saw nearly 60,000 jobs created in the last year. There's bafflement about the figure, but if we look at the distribution of who's getting those jobs, we see that employment levels of the under 35 age group actually decreased over that period. They're not picking up those jobs, they're still emigrating. So there's a real issue there in terms of who may even benefit from the job creation that we're bringing through. We see things like the job guarantee on stream beginning to be talked about, but we see only €14 million invested in it in this budget. Estimates are it would take 270, 280 million to actually give a decent quality opportunity to every young person. So whichever way you cut it, I mean, you know, like you can look at lots of different policy areas. You can see that we're falling short of giving young people the chance they need to stay in this country.
Well, to the extent that young people are part of families who are affected by the mortgage crisis, they're obviously hit by that as well. But in particular, they're probably affected by the difficulties that are arising in the private rented sector. So as people are not moving into owner occupancy due to the lack of mortgages, people are getting more and more people are being stuck in rented accommodation for longer, which is leading to an excess in demand for private rented accommodation. So what's happening as a result of that is that rents are continuing to rise, and also that landlords are able to cherry pick the tenants that they want. In particular, I suppose landlords are going for young professional couples and people like that, and that means that younger people, unemployed people, migrants and so on are getting corralled into the worst quality housing or being excluded from the private rented market altogether. And the last issue is probably the cutbacks in the cap on the rent supplement, which is forcing many people to enter into, you know, kind of illegal arrangements with their landlords where they have to top up their rent supplement, or having to move out to more out of the way places where the rents are lower and are at the level of the rent cap.
Do you think it's possible to live on €100 a week for a young person who's had their dole cut from January?
No. It's very, very tight. Very, very tight to live on €100 a week.
For people who don't have a good family situation at home, it's just condemning them to either stay there miserable or get the hell out.
It's all fair enough saying that because they're obviously not on €100 a week. Yeah. But I think it's more of an incentive to go off somewhere else, maybe that they can probably get work.
Get out, basically, isn't it? Yeah.
We're paying the banks, if we look at what we're even doing to induce foreign direct investment to come in and what we're handing over to business more generally in terms of tax incentives and the like. Yeah, we're not investing enough in young people, and we're going to reap the downfall of that later on, because if we're not investing in their human capital, in their skills, and if we do get economic growth, they simply won't be here and they won't be skilled and educated enough to actually do the jobs that may be created in the longer term. So it's a very short-sighted lack of ambition, I think, in relation to understanding the role that young people need to play in our economy, but also what our economy owes young people and what our society owes young people.
The strategy seems to be geared towards pushing people like me out of the country and looking for work elsewhere rather than staying where we could actually I mean, obviously people want to stay in the country anyway, but if you want to just look at it from their point of view, from the government's point of view, it should be in their interest to keep us in the country, since we are the future taxpayers, the people who will be paying their pensions.
Have you heard about that story that broke over the last few weeks, where 6,500 jobs have been sent out by the Department of Social Protection, offering job placements to people, or encouraging people to apply for jobs in Canada and places abroad? What do you make of that?
Well, that's just that's just a joke, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, they really should be advertising jobs here and creating jobs in this country rather than promoting jobs in a different country where they're kind of pretty much giving an incentive for people to leave who don't have work here.
Would perhaps the voting patterns of young people be brought into this? Are we easy targets?
Well, one of the big problems is that young people simply don't vote enough. Now, there's lots of academic research done on why that might be the case. I think lowering the voting age, as the Constitutional Convention recommended, is a start in that direction. But I think, we don't teach politics in school, we don't teach value systems in school. We need to really change and animate, I think, our political system so that it's much more vibrant and that it includes and involves young people at a much earlier age. So I think things like lowering the voting age is important, but I think growing young people's awareness of issues about distribution, what's going on, what are the political choices facing the country, is also very important. What the crisis does tell us maybe is that we need to look really, really hard at the model of development we have, the model of capitalism that we have. It's not sustainable. And if we're talking about renewing social contracts at any level, we really need to look at what the relationship is between society and the economy, and we need to find some model that makes the economy work for society rather than the other way around. And it's worrying that, as we're developing now and coming out of a crisis in terms of the crisis management stage of it, that we're not changing that model of development. If anything, it seems we have intensified the model of development that got us into the problem in the first place. And we're going to end up maybe being the best country in the world to do business in, but we won't be the best country in the world to work in, or to live in, to study in, or to just survive in.
Something like an average of 31 applications to every job vacancy. I think the problem clearly lies in an absence of jobs and not the young people's willingness to actively go out and look for them.